Members, we have a quorum, and it's 1 minute after the scheduled meeting time, so let's call this meeting to order. First item, confirmation of minutes of the last meeting. The minutes have been circulated to members. The Secretariat has not received any proposed amendments from members, so please confirm the minutes. Second item, information papers issued since the last meeting. After the last meeting, the Secretariat issued 6 new information papers for members' reference. The details are set out on the agenda, so I won't repeat them and waste time here. Item 3, date of the next meeting and items for discussion. In December 2013, we are going to hold 2 meetings. One will be a special meeting. The special meeting has to do with the special meeting originally scheduled on the 8th of December, which will be about the Communications Authority's investigation into the complaint against TVB on anti-competition conduct, and the administration will report to members the outcome, and members would like to know the details, and the TV stations involved will also be attending the meeting. However, on the outcome of the CA in granting TV licenses, we held a special meeting on the 8th of November, and Mr. Ho Pui-him, the chair of the Communications Authority, did not attend the meeting, and instead a statement was issued. On the day, members had strong views on his absence, so on members' request, a letter has been issued to invite him to come to the meeting to explain to members on issues related to the free-to-air TV licenses. And on the 2nd of December, we're going to hold another special meeting. The meeting on the 8th will be vacated for the purpose I mentioned. The item to be discussed on the 8th will be moved forward to this special meeting to be held on the 2nd on the investigation findings of the anti-competition conduct of TVB, and Mr. Ho will also be invited to this meeting. So another item will be included on members' request, and that is we will talk about the statement on free-to-air TV licenses, and we are going to invite Mr. Ho, the chairman of CA, to attend the meeting, so that apart from anti-competition conduct, he will also talk about the free-to-air TV licenses. We also have another regular meeting on the 9th of December, so I'd like to seek members' views about the special meeting on the 2nd of December. I'd like to ask if members would like to add this agenda item on free-to-air TV licenses. Mr. Chung-kai, I support you. Any other views? Okay. Ms. Claudia Mo? I want to make it clear. So on Monday, the 2nd, is it a morning or afternoon meeting? 5:30 in this room. I agree. 5:30. We might need to have a longer meeting. How long? 3 hours. 3 hours. So it's 5:30 to 8:30. So please make it clear. We'll start at 5:30. It will be a three-hour meeting, because originally, for the 2 agenda items scheduled, we need at least 2 hours about TVB and ATV. So with this additional item, we need an extra hour, so it's 5:30 to 8:30. Please pencil down. So that's about that. And about the regular meeting on the 9th of December, it will be held at 2:30 p.m. The special meeting will be held at 5:30 to accommodate members. Now about the regular meeting on the 9th of December, we're going to discuss the following items: review of the Digital 21 strategy and retention of a supernumerary post of AOSGB in RTHK, and the third item also to do with RTHK, establishment of 22 DDT filling stations. these items are set out in the list of outstanding items. Oh, yes. About the special meeting on the 2nd, if Mr. Ho, the chairman, is unwilling to come, will any other members of the authority be invited to come? We'll try our best. But the person we want is him, so if he notifies us that he can't attend, we will tell him that he should send somebody. So please be reassured this will be done. Ms. Ann Chang, will others like Now TV also be invited? Last time we already invited them. HK TV Entertainment came, Fantastic TV, nobody. So we will invite them in writing once again. Now on the 3 items for the regular meeting on 9th, any other views or any proposed additional items? If not, then there is also another item of concern, arrangements for the frequency spectrum in the 1.9 to 2.2 gigahertz band upon expiry of the 3G mobile services. And the administration will report to members on the progress. Some time should be reserved at this regular meeting, so the meeting will be extended. That is from 4:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon for members to deliberate on this issue. This is also an important issue. Yes, Ms. Claudia MOK. I have a concern. Mr. Greg So, the CDB, replied to SCMP's reporters' questions. He said that at the end of last month in October, the results will be announced. Now it's the beginning of November. Still, we hear no progress. I'm concerned that if results are announced before our next regular meeting in December, then should we continue to discuss this item? Well, we can still discuss this item, but, well, we have talked about it many times. If you look at our papers in the past, this is our progress. Mr. Charles MOK, I understand, but I also support Ms. Claudia MOK's suggestion, because now there is a chance that we can deliberate on it before the results are announced. And again, we requested to read the consultant's report, and our request has been turned down. So at the next meeting, if we are to discuss this item inevitably at the next meeting, then can we ask them to announce their results only after the panel's deliberation, and can we ask them to give us the consultant's report to avoid evoking the PNP? Now, on the reassignment of frequency spectrum for 3G mobile services, this report, we'd written long ago asking for this report. Now, we maintain the same position. This is the only option for us while we're holding this meeting. So when shall this item be scheduled? Because we still have other meetings, so we will write to them again and to urge them to do it. That's the only option. So item 4, Capital Works Reserve Fund Head 710 Computerization Subhead A007GX Block Allocation, New Administrative Computer Systems. So let me first invite the administration in. We have the Permanent Secretary, and Mr. Lai Sek Chang, Mr. Daniel Lai, Government Chief Information Officer, and Mr. Victor Lam, Deputy GCIO, and Mr. Timothy Chang, Chief Systems Manager. So, PS, over to you. Thank you, Chairman. Well, every year we would seek funding approval from the Finance Committee to implement the projects under the Capital Works Reserve Fund Head 710 Computerization. And in 2014-15 financial year, under Head 710, we're proposing a block allocation of 920 million, which is $30 million higher than the provision of 890 million for this year. The high provision will enable the government to keep pace with the increasing use of information and communication technology, and also to enhance system security and improve customer services. I urge members to support this funding allocation for the relevant departments to implement the targets for ICT. The paper sets out the projects to be initiated and the cash flow details, and the paper is quite simple and straightforward. I won't repeat the details. I welcome questions from members. Anything from the Chief Information Officer? No? So let me read out the members on the list. Those who wish to ask questions, please raise your hand. Chung-kai, Charles MOK, and some other members in UC Wing. Who else? 5 minutes, question and answers included. Mr. Chung-kai, Chairman. Now, we've been receiving these kind of papers for many years. Now the allocation will be increased by about 3.4%. It's lower than the inflation rate, 3.5%. So my question for the CGCIO is whether you have any policy to conduct audit for government departments. That is to say, for the systems implemented in a certain year, after how many years will these systems no longer be supported? I mean, when the proposal reaches the Treasury, you may be asked not to upgrade the system. But the other side of the story may that after a few years, the systems may not be able to be maintained. So have you conducted any systematic review of various systems? Some systems may be far outdated and has yet to be upgraded. It's really difficult to go through the details, for the risk assessments, etc. I see that two departments, like the SWD, has this project. Maybe the SWD will face a high risk, but what about other departments? Do they do security risk assessments as well? What about the 60-odd departments? Have they all conducted the assessment and audit? We don't have a full picture. So two questions. About the Government Information Office. The first of all, do you have any comprehensive assessment and audit plan? Let's say who should be given the green light or the amber light, and this should be implemented across the board for all government departments so that we know which has been audited, which has not. This year is Social Welfare Department. What about other departments?
It's all about risk assessment and also the reviewing the budget. Thank you, Chairman. Other than system security and technology, I think we've done that for both. Each government department will have to submit to the Office of the Chief Government Information Officer an assessment of the systems and also what the strategies are. After they've done it, submitted to us, we will review it. The information technology security review and audit will also be done. Normally, we would commission a third party to help us carry out the risk assessment and also to conduct an IT security assessment, and then they will report back to us. It's not necessarily always for our office to send somebody to the departments to do it. Our colleagues will, however, study the reports which submitted. Mr. Singh, for the assessments that you've made, the so-called technical assessment, and every department will have to report to you. You're now applying for funding, but could you show us, tell us about the technology level of the different departments? And having carried out the review, do you have an overall report? Say, for example, whether the system for a particular department has been upgraded in the last 5 years or 3 years. And this is the picture that I'm trying to get, Chairman. All such information are public information. We've also put such information onto our website. For example, the Microsoft XP upgrade. We've done a lot of work and review each and every government department. For example, if there's no more technical backup for the XP version, in the past we have been inspecting the system in each and every department to see whether or not they would be able to upgrade the system by April next year. We've also personally gone to the departments concerned to find out how we can expedite such work. And this is the kind of work that we've been doing all along. Chairman, I'd like to follow up on Mr. Sin's point that they are proposing to increase the funding by 3.4%, and I'm afraid that it may not be sustainable because you're not able to catch up with inflation. It's only barely enough for you to maintain the internet, and there will be very little funds for new projects. Looking at the examples in the paper, the biggest item is the second generation transport management system of the police department. I don't think the government should have so few departments which need to introduce new technologies and systems. Looking at the percentage increase in the expenditure, I think we're only talking about 0.3% for implementation services. Could you tell us why the figure is so low? And for contract staff, you only allow for a 4.8% increase, which is lower than the increase rate for hardware and software, which are 5.8 and 5.6% respectively. Does it mean that you are now having fewer staff? But if you have more staff, it would mean that you're not able to even catch up with the salary adjustments for your staff. Chairman, before I explain, I'd like to tell you that under head 710, we are talking about subhead A007 costing $150,000 to $10 million. The bigger projects are not included under this subhead. That item has been increasing all along. For this head, our original estimate was $710 million, and it has gone up for 2013-2014 to $890 million. Our proposal for 2014-15 will continue to see an increase. So for over this 3-year period, the growth is it's 29%. So it's been steadily increasing. So there are two types of projects. Some have already been approved and already and we will look into the cash flow requirements for those projects which are ongoing. We also have 130 odd new projects, and we've also calculated the required cash flow requirements. So basically we're talking about cash flow expenditures here. Small. I was asking about the second and third point, implementation services. Why is it at only 0.3%? And also for contract staff, does it mean that you are not increasing the salaries of the staff? I think this is based on projects which have already started and the cash flow requirements for those projects. Every year there might be ups and downs. We have to wait until we'll have to see where the expenses are incurred. Does it have to do with staff salaries? I think we have a memorandum of understanding on which stipulate that the salaries will not go down. Well, the market revision is 4.8 something percent. If you only allow for 4.8%, I don't think you'll be able to recruit IT personnel. And I'm sure that your contract staff has not gone down in numbers. So I'm worried that you might have difficulties in hiring people when you need to compete with the market. Deputy Chief Information Officer, to answer Mr. Mok's question, other than Head 710, the Capital Works Reserve Fund, to pay for these projects. Like Mr. Lai said, there are some other projects which are paid for by individual departments and bureaus. We will use the allocation for those departments and bureaus to pay for staff salaries. It's not a question whether we have enough funds when it comes to staff salaries. In our contract, we allow for salary adjustments for our staff, and we will make the adjustments according to the contract provisions. Mr. Wong. The government always claimed that it supports the development of information technology. There are many local SMEs which cannot compete with large corporations when they bid for IT projects, and the products are not being used by the government, and there's very little room for SMEs to compete in the market. So do you have any measures in mind to give priority to using the results of innovation development or by SMEs? On the adoption of technology, we always adopt a fair, just, and transparent principle when making our procurements. In the course of doing that, there have been SMEs which have successfully bid for our projects. To give you one example, when we adopt the public cloud services, we have a list of 40 contractors, about 1/3 of which are SMEs. Mr. Wong's second question was, what measures do we have in place? Over the past year, we've launched several initiatives. For example, we encourage local IT companies. We give them the opportunity to showcase their products. And it's not just the government. Next to the government building in Wan Chai, we will give them the opportunity to showcase their products. We also organize seminars for them to showcase their products to different government departments. We've also arranged for local companies which have won awards to showcase their products at trade fairs. In June this year, we had in a Beijing Expo and also a trade fair in Dalian, we've showcased the products of these SMEs which have won awards. We've also put their displayed the products in the expo. A week ago, at the Innovation Technology Carnival, we also exhibited or showcased the SME's ICT products for the trade and the government as well as the public. Chairman, of course, it is necessary to use public funds in a fair and transparent manner. But as far as assisting local SMEs is concerned, I think the public and members would understand if you would have a policy that is friendly to the SMEs. For projects, IT projects costing less than $150,000, these are approved by the relevant bureaus. So would you be willing to give preferential treatment to SMEs when procuring such products and services? The Chief Chief Information Officer told us that SMEs who have won awards, you would help them promote and showcase the products. Well, of course, this is a good policy, but more importantly, they don't just want to showcase the products. The important thing is for them to get the business done. They will need to be able to, generate revenue before they can operate the business. So could the government come up with a more preferential policy for SMEs? Mr. Lai, regarding our procurement policy, we always have to ensure that we get value for money and the product is would meet our needs. If the product is suitable, certainly we would consider procuring it. But if there's a need to go for a public tender, and given that Hong Kong is a member of the WTO, we have to follow the WTO procurement policy. Okay, next, Ms. Elizabeth Kwok. I have two questions, Chairman. First of all, when you outsource these contracts, what are your evaluation criteria? How can you ensure that all projects will not go to the lowest bidders? How can you prevent big corporations outbidding the SMEs by offering cutthroat prices? As a result, in the long term, you have a vicious circle. We now see that the tender price is so low that the corporations which have won the bids cannot even make a profit. As a result, there will be it will have an adverse impact, and firms are not able to afford, to train their staff and so on. And secondly, in the funding application, the government suggested that they are proposing to build a new generation of data archive. So, do you have plans to migrate the existing archives to a green archive system? Will the government allocate some resources to help the data centers to install independent electric meters so that we can find out how the data centers perform in terms of energy conservation? Thank you. I think the evaluation of the bids in the tender exercise does not mean that we always go for the lowest bidder. We will have, we would evaluate on the basis of pricing and technology. Technology can take up a weighting of 30 to 50%. So it's not always the case that the lowest bid will win the contract. We have to ensure that there is value for money and the contractor or the bidder can deliver. The trade has actually been in touch with us, and I've been talking to companies of different sizes in the trade. And if we were to lower the requirements or criteria, then the SMEs told us that it may not be to the benefit, because they think that the large companies tend to have to incur a higher cost. If we were to change the criteria all the time, the market will be confused. And that is why we will need to look at the technical and quality requirements for a project. And then we will decide the weighting to be assigned to technology, whether it's 30, 40, or 50%, depending on the project itself.
But Deputy Chair asked about the data center complex. Now, we would like to adopt green technology. That is why, first of all, we're going to combine the 6 government data centers to create synergy and to manage more effectively the resources for data centers. That's why, for our project, the first data center will comprise an area of about 50,000 square feet. This will be a data center complex, and green technologies will be adopted. Having completed the preparation work, we are going to identify another suitable site for another project involving the combination of another few data centers to achieve the goal of emission reduction and energy saving. All right, a follow-up question. On the first point, will the government consider adopting a reasonable pricing policy as other countries have? The sector have told me that they can't make a profit out of the business orders. You say that not necessarily the lowest bidder would win, but that is actually the reality. So would you consider at least or study the feasibility of a reasonable pricing policy so that in terms of the labor costs and other costs involved in the order, the bid must at least reach the minimum? Now, the second question is on the data center. I asked whether you have any target on emission reduction or energy saving, whether you're going to relocate centers or combine centers. Do you have such a target? Whether we have a new data center or not, in the future, we have set the target of reducing emission by 5%. 5%, so what is the level? Current level. Each data center varies. It's around 2 point something. So we're going to lower it by 5%. Will you consider studying the reasonable pricing policy? Now, in our assessment, in our tender assessment, we already take into account that the bid is a reasonable price, and we signed with the 40-odd companies. They also agreed that this is a reasonable price, and we also take into account the quality, which is acceptable by them. So pricing has been considered. Next, Mr. Yu Si-wing. Thank you, Chairman. Now, my understanding is that for the HED 710 computerization, it's a reserve fund. I'd like to know the utilization of the fund in the past few years and the balance. Second question. On the projects under HED 710, the departments propose the projects, and then the office vets the projects before approving funding. Now, my question is, in the coming years, is there a plan or is there a direction for upgrading the computer systems? If there is a plan, will estimates be reserved for this purpose? GCIO. Thank you, Chairman. Let me take the second part of the question first, about the planning of each department. The bureaus of the departments will be the best position to know about their initiatives, and they do have a forward-looking policy, and we will also review the forward-looking strategy with them. This is done on a regular basis. On the proposal of projects or during its implementation, whether the technology deployed is the most suitable or not, our department participates in the process and study whether this is the best technology to be deployed. As a forward-looking government, we often liaise with the IT unit of various government departments. We share the latest technologies with them. We also give them the latest standards. So on technology, we do exchange with them on a regular basis to keep pace with the latest trend. On the IT functions of the system, the departments and bureaus will be more familiar with their work than our office. So we can only give technical directions. We cannot instruct them on what functions to be carried out in the system. Of course, we will frequently exchange and share with them the best practices. Mr. Yu Si-wing. To follow up on the last question, the model is that there is demand from the department, and then the office will look into and study the demand. But will the government consider our positioning in terms of the use of ICT and find out how we fare among other countries, and then see how we can upgrade our use of ICT, because only by doing so can you help upgrade the image of Hong Kong. CGIO, any consideration? Yes, we do. In particular, for e-government, we often draw reference from other jurisdictions. We share with different departments, and for e-government, one portal, GovHK, will be used, and this is under our purview. So we often liaise with different service units, and there are over 200 services offered at the moment. So we take a comprehensive approach in comparing ourselves with other jurisdictions. I'd like to talk about the actual expenditure and funding allocation. The approved estimates and the actual expenditure over the past 5 years. In 2010, 2011, the approved estimate was 715 million. Actual expenditure 645 million, about 90%. For 2011, approved 780, expenditure 89%, and 2012 860 million, 95% actually used. For this financial year, the approved allocation 890 million. We expect the utilization to be about 95%. So what is the balance in the reserve? You're only talking about the percentage. Mr. Yu is asking for the balance of the reserve fund. This is a reserve fund. Chairman, we don't have this information at hand. We can go back and check. Yes, just to respond to Mr. Yu's question, I'd like to remind you, you have to respond to this question. And we can, yes, please supplement this information to us later. And also, how we fare among other the governments of other places on the use of information technology, so that we know our positioning in the world. Thank you. Next, Mr. Leung Kwok-hong. Now, the administration said that there are standards as far as tendering is concerned. Can the criteria be made public on technology and quality, etc.? Or is it the case that there is no standard criteria? GCIO. Yes, there are standard criteria. For example, on technical assessment and financial assessment. First, on technical assessment, well, there are details. For example, whether the staff of the company is familiar with a certain computer system and their track record, and also whether the company had in the past implemented similar projects, and whether they're familiar with a certain technology, and whether overall speaking the project could meet our requirement, and the security assessment, whether the company has experience in doing that. So what about the weight? For example, how much weight to be given to yes, please lean closer to the microphone, Mr. Lau. And we talk about a number of factors. in the selection process, will different weighting be given? For example, how much to technical aspect and how much to financial aspect? GCIO. Yes, there are, and it's in the public domain, and the bidders would know the weight to be given to the technical aspect and to financial aspects. All this is public. So who makes the decision? By one person? Usually, a project steering committee will make the decision. A steering committee, what is the composition? Depending on the scale of the project, usually the person in charge of the department or the assistant director will be the chairman, and there will be representatives from the sector, and also there will be a representative from the IT management unit, and also some colleagues from the efficiency unit. So, understood. Then I find it peculiar. It's exactly opposite to the CE issuing the TV licenses by himself. So in your case, the bidders would know whether or how improvements can be made so that they can follow up on their work. Now, your projects are actually quite trivial. Well, can't say they're trivial, but of course, upgrading computer systems are important. But I find it peculiar. How did the system evolve? You want him to answer the bit on TV licenses on the system. He can't answer on the TV licenses. So how has the system established? He's unable to answer your question on TV licenses, Mr. Leung. Well, your system is better than the TV licensing system. So you think this system is better than the TV licensing system? Yes, definitely. All are transparent. This committee follows the government's established rules and practices, or does it just come by out of nowhere? I think the GCIO won't be able to answer you. You are just praising their system is much better than the black box operation of the TV licensing system. Okay, next member, Mr. Leung Sing.
Leung Sing, thank you. If one compares the two, in one case, we're talking about a project costing $800 million in a year, and the other one, we're talking about investment of billions of dollars. And that's why, for one, it needs to be approved by the CE in Council. And for this project, the Government Chief Information Officer can be the coordinator. I'd like to ask a question relating to paragraph 4. If you need to reserve the full amount, there will be no room for deployment. So from the value for money perspective, I agree, as you say in the end of the fourth paragraph, that is, this arrangement will avoid unnecessary locking up of funds and by individual projects, so that you can enable the government CIO to deploy funds to meet the requirements of other more urgent projects. Over the past few years, had there been any projects which were urgent or priority projects, and how many percent of the total allocation did they take up? Mr. Ng is asking a question regarding the last sentence in paragraph 4. That is the funds which the CGIO can deploy to meet the requirements of other urgent and high priority projects. Mr. Ng is asking for the details. Whenever we have a project, there will be a special task force to see whether or not the project is suitable and whether there is a need or justification for it. For some projects, After the task force committee has looked at it and decides that it doesn't have a high priority or if it is not necessary. I'll give you an example of what is meant by a high priority project which were initially not included on the list. Say, for example, this year, for Windows XP and Office softwares, if we do not upgrade before the end of April next year, we will no longer have the technical backup. So in order to ensure that all government systems can run smoothly, we have specifically made an allocation for some departments to carry out these projects. About 20% of the reserves have been spent on these urgent or high priority projects in the last 5 years. So in other words, about 80% of the budget will be spent on the typical projects, and I think that is reasonable. Next, I'd like to follow up by asking about the evaluation criteria. You have the technical requirements and the financial requirements. We've said on those committees we understand about the arrangement. When you decide on these criteria, have you come up with these criteria? Have you sought the advice of the ICAC to see whether or not you have any loopholes? Have you done that? Chief Information Officer, I think the whole tender process has been reviewed by the Prevention of Bribery section of the ICIC. And over the years, they have been updated to ensure that it will comply with the requirements of the Prevention of Bribery Ordinance. Before we invite bids, we would lay down all the criteria before we would proceed. Are there any other members who would like to go for a second round? If not, and perhaps I can also ask a question of my own. I'd like to, just make one comment. Different departments have different requirements when it comes to procurement. For the software and hardware providers, is it for the different departments to make the proposals, or is it for the Office of the Chief Government Information Officer to make the decision? According to the paper, if it's 150,000 to 10 million, the Financial Secretary has decided that the authority is delegated to the Chief Information Officer. Anything below $150,000, it would be for the Bureau and the departments, which can make the decision. But then they have different departments. Is it that all departments can propose this expenditure, or do they have to submit a proposal for you so that you can coordinate? And secondly, I'm concerned about the question of IT security. If you entrust all the work to a single contractor, there might be a risk here. So how does the government deal with these issues? Thank you. Once every 3 years, we would have an agreement regarding quality IT professional services covering large and small projects. A total of 44 contractors are on the list, and for each project, different bureaus and departments will make the selection of the contractor. It's not for us to make the selection. We have selected the 44 companies on the list, and the departments and bureaus can select those companies on the list to put in bids. So they cannot select any companies outside of the list of 40-odd contractors. Yes. In an open tender, it's open. If it is a project costing less than 10 million, then they can rely on the agreement, and then they can select a vendor from the list of 40-odd contractors. I think some members they also have a query about that. Okay, if there are no further questions, is the panel in principle in support of the funding proposal? Are there any objections? If not, then this panel now, in principle, supports the application under Capital Works Reserve Fund Head 710, computerization, and the proposal will go to the FC in December, and all members are in support of the funding proposal. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is the development of the new broadcasting house in Chung-kai for RTHK. Over the past year, we've been following up on this issue, and members would like to be updated on the progress. We have invited the government officials to come and give us an update. We have representatives from the government and the RTHK. We have Mr. Tang from Permanent Secretary, the Deputy Secretary, Mr. Liu, and Mr. Roy Tang from RTHK, Mr. Tai Kin Man, Deputy Director, and Ms. Leonia Tai, Deputy Director of Broadcasting, as well as Mrs. Sylvia Lam, Project Director, Mr. Lam Kwai Sung, Chief Project Manager. We have a full team present today. Perhaps we can ask the Permanent Secretary to start. In order to discharge his mission as a public service broadcasting, the RTHK is now proposing to build a new broadcasting house in Chung-kai. The three blocks in Broadcast Drive are already more than 40 years old. The buildings are getting old, and there are many structural constraints in these new buildings, and we're not able to really conduct large-scale renovation and improvement works in situ, and it will not be able to cope with the need for RTHK to expand its services. And hence there is a need for RTHK to build a new broadcasting house with advanced facilities to cope with its future development needs. And we hope that we will have the support of the panel. With the support of the panel, we plan to go to the FC in December this year or January next year, or rather we'll go to the PWSC and subsequently the FC and apply for funding. If the funding request is approved, we hope that in the first quarter of 2014 works can start, and that the new broadcasting house will be commissioned in 2018. I'll now call upon Mr. Tai to brief members on the project. Chairman, the three towers, the broadcasting house, and the premises that we lease total 10,000 odd square meters. The facilities are already outdated, and they're not able, cannot enable the RTHK to really, play so effectively. In the year 2000, we made a rough estimate, and it was estimated that it will cost $1.5 billion to build a new broadcasting house. With the change of the state of the economy and the review of the role of the RTHK, the project was shelved, and 9 years have lapsed since. In September 2009, the government officially appointed RTHK as the public broadcaster in Hong Kong. In the information brief presented to LegCo in paragraph 28, it was suggested that the rough estimate for the cost of the new broadcasting tower would be $1.6 billion, which is $900 million more than the earlier estimate. The original estimate did not take into account the new services which we require the RTHK to perform, including digital broadcasting, community broadcasting, the media archive, and also the terrestrial TV broadcast. We've conducted a 4-month-long consultation, and 2 years later, in 2011, the ASD conducted a second feasibility study. And in that feasibility study, we updated the facility requirements of the RTHK in order to play satisfy the requirements for it to play the new role. So instead of going to Area 86, we've now chosen Area 85 in Chung-kai. And based on that, the ASD has now helped us prepare the tender. The money on the day is broadcasted is 650 million, and also it will be the area will be 27,000 square meters. The facilities in the new broadcasting house compared with the existing broadcasting house are given in Annex 3. Thank you. It is now time for members to ask questions or make comments, because this is a very important topic. The government has plans to go to the PWSC in December or January next year for funding, subsequently to the FC. We're talking about more than $6 billion. I don't know whether or not the project estimate will be exceeded. I'm sure members have many questions regarding the facilities of the new broadcasting house. I will now first read out the names of members on the list: Chung-kai, Elizabeth Kwok, Leung Kwok Hong, Sid Ho, Yu Si Wing, Lo Wai Kwok. Anyone else? If not, looking at the clock, shall we say we give each member 4 minutes? If there's any time left, we can allow for a second round. Let's deal with it later on, okay? All right. First to speak is Mr. Sin Chung-kai. Mr. Sin has just left the room. Deputy Chair, thank you. Although the Bureau has already explained, but I think the public is really, shocked by the announcement, because there is a serious, the original estimate has been revised upward drastically. The $66 billion odd, is that the accurate estimate? We're worried that about 6 months later, the project estimate will go up even further by a large margin. How can you ensure that there will be, you won't repeat this, you won't have again have such a big discrepancy? And secondly, for this new broadcasting house, I'm concerned about whether or not you've adopted green design, whether you've adopted green procurement policies, and will you apply green technologies. 2 questions: the question of pricing, and also the question of environmental protection. Thank you. When the RTHK need to build a new broadcasting house, first of all, we have to ask what facilities do we need now. It's not a question of whether or not RTHK can get any facilities, any size, or any that it wants. You'll find that the area or the size will be up by 29%, and this is exactly the space that is presently short for RTHK at the moment. The Government Property Agency has a committee which is not represented by RTHK, and we're not able to obtain a single inch of extra space. We also have an organization reviewing our requirement as far as broadcasting facilities is concerned. In the estimate covers the funds for all the projects, contingency, and also an adjustment mechanism to allow for inflation. With these 2 requirements, the possibility of a project overrun it's very small. And also the ASD, as a project proponent, will closely monitor the expenditures incurred. Regarding the environmental aspects, I'd like to ask Mr. Tai to supplement. This is going to be a sustainable project which will include a lot of green features. For details, I'll ask the ASD to supplement.
Like other capital works project, we do follow a set of guidelines in implementing green facilities. For example, we have solar panels, we have vertical greening. Please adjust the microphone. Vertical and rooftop greening, and also exterior wall insulation of heat. We do have certain standards. And inside office, we also have illumination for office desks. Air conditioning, we have multi-speed water cooling towers, and also automatic adjustment mechanism. For example, the water circulation system, and also we also have automatic or the central aircon unit, and also we have sensor units. For example, when the CO2 level increases, the air conditioning operation will be enhanced. I'm not happy with this answer. I will follow up in the second round. Next, Mr. Chung-kai. Chairman, I really need to say this. Now, it seems that about this new building, I do hope that this radio is for the people. It's not the mouthpiece for the central government. So you allow this radio station to have a new building, but you are giving the other radio station a hard time. So I hope that and I have a question. Now this building is for the purpose of fulfilling the role as the public service broadcaster, PSB, and we support it. About the funding proposal, it involves $6 billion. I read the paper. I was away just now. I think it's on the high side. In the future, as far as the facilities are concerned, will there be digital video recording equipments, etc.? Have they been included in your budget? The most important thing is, of course, hardware will constitute an important part of the cost. And I'm concerned about the broadcasting equipment in the new building. And you have this community involvement project. Is it possible to lend the facilities to those under the program for their use? Director, you understand this question? Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Sin was away. I don't know whether he heard the part about the 1.6 billion and the 6 billion difference. At the time when the study was conducted, the estimate was 1.5 or 1.6 billion. 1.5, and then in 2009, on the 20th of September, the revised estimate was 1.6 billion. But that part didn't include the digital broadcast, audio broadcasting, DTT, etc. And in 2011, we completed the technical feasibility study, and before the tendering started, the tendering outcome is 6 billion. Whether the estimates include the broadcasting equipment in the new building, yes, is included. So whether the equipment can be open for those participants in the CI program for use. As members may know, the community involvement project has begun, and most participants are familiar with the broadcasting operation, and they hire their own equipment. So far, they have not expressed a need for the outage case equipments. If if the community broadcasting extends to TV, then, well, so far we have not formulated any plans, but the technology involved will be much more advanced. I think there is little room for us to lend the equipment for their use. Mr. Charles MOK. As the public service broadcaster, we support it, but we see that the investment is huge. $6 billion just for the new broadcasting house. What about the land? You see that this land is this site is surrounded by data centers. If you vacate the piece of land, our sector will definitely welcome it. Increasing the spectrum, the 3 channels are already occupied by the TV stations. If the spectrum can be open for companies which would like to operate the TV station, or even those already got the approval in principle, I think they'd be happy about it. So I support it. In terms of the entertainment element, I think that they may be somewhat different from the RTHK's broadcasting programs. While the CN Council is now giving you more troubles. I don't think this question can be answered by anyone from RTHK, so I'd like to ask the Permanent Secretary. How can a better balance be struck? These are public resources, land, money, spectrum. These are public resources. How can you make the public agree that this is good investment? If the ratings in the future is poor, well, the DAB has kick-started for quite some time. I don't know what the ratings are. I'm afraid they may not be very high. If the DTT in the future has a rating even lower than that of ATV, then what should happen? We might be concerned about the misallocation of resources. So the 3 major resources are involved. How can you convince us to support you? I really want to support a public broadcaster. And I think it would be unfair if pressure is left on the shoulders of the staff of RTHK PS. Now, on the public service broadcasting policy after 2009 study, we set a direction. At the time, the RTHK was given a role that is in terms of the programs, TV programs, including digital TV. At the moment, the programs are aired on existing channels, but eventually the RTHK will have its own channel. The construction of the new broadcasting house will allow this initiative to be implemented from 2018 onwards. RTHK has many years of experience in producing TV programs, and the programs now shown on free-to-air TV channels are quite popular. I trust that the RTHK will do a good job. I urge members for their support. Well, Chairman, I support them, but I don't think this question can be answered. We don't have anyone in the ExCo here. We really, whether we want to support the public broadcaster or the other policies like opening up the telecommunications market, well, things are in a mess because of their inconsistencies. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Chairman, I'd like to follow up on Mr. Charles MOK's question. Mr. Roy Tang, sorry if I offended you. Actually, somebody is even worse than you. Is that C.Y. Leung? C.Y. Leung makes a decision all by himself. He's a dictator. So you're not the worst. My question is, first of all, now so much money will be spent on the provision of services, well, like you said, you had a revised estimate, and the figure jumped from 1.6 to 6 billion. That's not only due to rising costs, but also additional hardware to be provided as a public broadcaster. So maybe the question should be directed at the PS. Just like Mr. Ricky Wong's incident. Well, some say that how can it be worse than ATV? ATV has a rating of 0. Chairman, you are in the media discipline. So, P.S. I really want you to tell Mr. Greg So that he shouldn't cry. There's no need to cry. If it is their policy to protect such a station with 0 viewers rating to use the spectrum, how can you convince me to give you an extra $4 billion or so to prepare programs that meets our expectations? Well, who would you want to take your question, PS or director? PS. It's so bad at the moment. So how can you guarantee the quality of programs aired on the 3 channels of RT, HKT, DTT channels? Mr. Roy Tang has been accused of shutting the mouths of the staff. Are you saying that because he wants the staff of RTHK to shut up and he shouldn't be given the extra $4 billion? PS, I think in preparing programs, as I said just now, the RTHK over the years have produced a number of programs, award-winning ones. And in terms of viewers ratings and appreciation index, I think that it's quite high for RTHK. I think the organization will just continue to improve. With enough support, I am sure that it will play to its role. Well, but the CE is protecting a TV station with no viewers, or a radio station with no listeners. So this is a waste of public money if you're trying to protect the station and let it use the spectrum. So the problem is Mr. Roy Tang is wearing 2 different hats. If you don't change the system, the CE is a dictator, and Mr. Roy Tang is still wearing 2 hats. You don't expect me to approve the funding allocation. Any response, Director? Mr. Leung asked a series of questions. Now, on viewers ratings, we understand that this, at the moment, is a very simple mechanism. 800 or 1,000. Well, Director, I don't think he's talking about this. Are you trying to explain the viewers rating? Are you trying to explain that there is such a thing called minus viewers rating?
Will you be performance reverse the ATV? I think it's simple. His question is very simple. You don't need to waste time and tell us how you explain that the rating is measured. I think internally we measure the hit rate on the internet. We look at the ratings for the hit rate. We do not believe in that totally. We also would make reference of the hit rate on the internet, because people would proactively seek out for those programs. Whereas people switch on the TV, you don't know whether or not people are actually watching the program. You don't know about the 50 cent gang. I don't think you're able to answer the question, Mr. Chen Chi-sing. Well, the director said the budget is got up for 1.66 billion because of the requirements upon the request of the SARG. If one goes to Annex 3, the table compares the existing facilities and the facilities in the new broadcasting house. There are two items here. The information center, the facility is up 700%. So if you want to really is it an instruction or an order from the SARG to really build a news channel? What is the justification rationale for the RTHK to really, build a news station on a big scale? Would it become another CCTV? And also, there's a 500% increase in information technology and new media technical facilities. You have not given an explanation for G, but you have explanation for the other items. So if there's time, could you explain to us why you have this close to 500% increase in space provision? So are you going to have a 24-hour around-the-clock news broadcast? If you take out the forget the percentage. If you look at the actual size, the news center, media center is only up by 1,670 square meters. It's not a drastic increase. And the existing, news department is very cramped. Most of the staff working there don't have enough space to work with. And the RTHK being a PSB would need to provide the most accurate information for the public. If you look at the PSB all over the world, they would all provide, television news. RTHK is unique because we're not like NHK in Japan or BBC in England, which were the earliest television media. Right at the outset, they have all the facilities, whereas for RTHK, we did not. So it is the RTHK's plan that we will be providing broadcasting news on television. If you look at the ratings, or the credibility ratings conducted by the two universities, RTHK always rank first. We don't have planned for 24-hour news broadcasts yet. But the news, the two news, broadcasts in the morning and evening, we do have plans to do that. The television news that we can see now are provided by commercial TV stations. I hope the public will continue to have the credibility in RTHK, and we will certainly provide for news broadcasts. Mr. Lim Ko Hong, I think it is now Mr. Chen Chi-chun's slot. So could you please wait for the second round? Mr. Chen Chi-chun has not yet finished. Regarding new media, I'd like Madam Tai to explain. Regarding the digital facilities for new media, this is because we'll be launching digital audio broadcast, digital television, and media asset management, and that would require new facilities. For example, the room to accommodate the servers. Since we don't have enough space, the servers are now spread all over the territory. The shortage of space means that we cannot mutually support each other. But in the new broadcasting house, there will be new rooms to store these facilities. Since we're going to launch new services, and therefore we need more room to store the data. And also, we need to store the programs in digital format, and therefore we need more facilities for storage. We are tight for time, and we need to finish by 4:30. And so will members please finish within 4 minutes, because we all still have a second round of questions. Ms. Claudia Mo. I think the subject of our RTHK is really rather strange. Previously, you want to really, drive to tighten, to deplete its resources, and suggested that you should actually abolish RTHK and start from scratch again. And now you're talking about the building of a new broadcasting house. I really wonder whether the government is trying to stir up another controversy. The debate, the row over the free television license is yet over, and you're now saying that you want to have this mega plan to build a new broadcasting house for RTHK in Chung-kai. you will be, will also be a party in, you have plans for television broadcasts. I don't have too much queries about the funding side. In 2009, Zhang Menyi was kicked out of RTHK, and you have this plan. In the past, you didn't talk about digital broadcast. You never considered that you'll be expanding news services. The question is that the people of Hong Kong normally would support the public service broadcast. The only difference is that, first of all, firstly because there's no commercial element and it's also not under any political pressure. However, since last year, we have seen problems with the management of RTHK, the so-called empty chair incident at the City Forum, and also you talk about the tax issues. There was a big controversy. The people are now worried that even with funding of $6 billion, which might be appropriate, the question is would not, after spending such an amount, you still will be the mouthpiece of the government, and all the talk about PSP is a lie. That's my first question. Mr. Tang and Madam Tai, could you make the, are you going to really, destroy RTHK? I mean, especially Mr. Tai, you are really a veteran in RTHK. Right now, cable and Now TV also have free television channels. They also broadcast news. You're proposing a 7-time increase in the space for the news sections. Are you going to compete with the private broadcasters? In future, you may need to ask the owners and corporations to allow you to set up the receivers in buildings before the residents can pick up the news broadcast by RTHK. Will you be? Are you afraid that people will say that you are competing with the private operators? I think that's a rather long question. To put it shortly, first of all, you're going to spend $6 billion to do the new broadcasting house, where the RTHK will continue to become the mouthpiece of the government, where the governments continue to weaken the role of RTHK, and secondly, will you be competing with the private operators? I think the government's commitment in terms of public broadcasting, well, I think we reported electrical in 2009. RTHK, the government, and the Broadcasting Authority signed an RTHK charter, and we undertake to uphold the principle of public service broadcasting. Regarding news broadcasts, all commercial television stations would have news broadcasts, and some even do it around the clock. But eventually we decided we still need to do it because we think that we don't have any commercial sponsorship. We don't have to cater to any business interests. I'm sure the public will understand and support our independence. Mr. Taikin Man. Sorry, you have to wait for the second round because of time constraint. Sito. What's the use if you have a larger, if you have more space when the room for freedom of opinion is limited? I understand that you are very congested. However, I think freedom of speech has been really stifled or tightened in RTHK. You say that in 2009 September you decided RTHK should play the role, take up the role of a PSP. I'm really angry about this. Don't think that you tell a lie 100 times it becomes the truth. RTHK originally wanted to become a PSP. You did not allow it to do it. You asked the RTHK unions, they really wanted to do it. But you do not allow them to do it. And now that you are saying that you want the RTHK to play this role, I think you're just, lying in our face. RTHK previously had its resources, reduced. Now that RTHK told the government line, then you're giving them more money. Well, you don't need to have a support, but I still have this question for you. You're spending so much money to expand RTHK. Have you announced all the ratings for your various programs. What is the rating for the program hosted by Mr. Ng Chi Sam and the program now? When you replace the anchor host, you decided to change the host anchors for these programs. What is the rating for these programs now? You're funded by by taxpayers' money. Won't you tell us about the ratings? Secondly, regarding the site for proposed government house, you keep telling us that that it's good to move to Chung-kai. But in RTHK, there are still people who are very, very conscientious, those who are working in your news department. I don't want to be unfair to them, but your management is really ridiculous. The site now, after the broadcasting house has been vacated, are you going to use the site to build luxury apartments? I strongly believe that the site should be given to the Baptist or City University. I think that is the best solution. Don't use it to build luxury, flats. And thirdly, I'd like to declare my interest. I talk about that program for homosexuals. If you want to play the role of a PSP, you shouldn't be afraid of public pressure, and you should allow time slots for them to air their views. Mr. Young Katsai did have a program for homosexuals. It was from midnight to 2 a.m. on Saturday. 12 years ago, our society was not so tolerant. But now we want more discussion. But still, you only broadcast a program from midnight to 2 a.m. on Friday night. I'd like to declare that I am a member of the union in support of the gay movement. Since you claim that you're a public broadcaster, do you have any plans to broadcast these controversial programs in a better slot, programs which are controversial? Mr. Tang, first of all, the 3 buildings, after they have been vacated, they will be handed back to the SIRG for other uses, and the RTHK will have no say on that. Secondly, regarding the question regarding radio programs, I asked Mr. Tai to respond. Thank you, Ms. Ho. Ms. Ho is concerned about the rating for the phone-in programs. In the past, at the meeting of this panel, we've also updated members. That is, the rating for the phone-in morning in the morning. After the change of the anchor, there was no substantial drop. The rating figure is more or less the same. And secondly, you asked about the program we air late in the evening on Saturday. This is a better slot for that program because I think we've already, over the years, we've built up a brand for this program, and it has attracted a good followership or audience. I'm not talking about the morning slot. He talked about the late afternoon slot. I think he's already answered your question relating to the program for homosexuals. Mr. Yu Si-wing. At the end of March 2013, the establishment was 50 for the news department. 13-14, it will be up to 100 odd, and then by April next year, it will be up to 778. Why this drastic increase? And by 2018, by how much will RTHK increase its establishment? And how many additional staff can the new broadcasting house accommodate? And secondly, the jump to 6 billion is really too much. If we have, could the RTHK consider where you can, compress some of estimates? For example, digital terrestrial television broadcasting facilities, the provision is increased from 2,000 to 5,000 odd square meters, and same for the news center. And then for D and G, we're talking about 5-fold increase. Could you compress that further? Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. As at the 31st of October this year, the establishment of RTHK is 659. For NCSC staff, 280. Altogether, 939. The budget only refers to the civil service establishment, so the member might have misunderstood the situation. Now the plan is that in the new broadcasting house, around 30 more staff will be accommodated there. That is, after the audit of the GPA, we are allowed to expand our establishment by 30 to 40 in the new broadcasting house. So as you can imagine, if we are to provide new service, we need to expand. And the Architectural Services Department already asked the contractor to reserve some space in the pilot works so that in the future 2 additional stories can be added to the broadcasting house to accommodate about 100 to 150 additional staff using the existing ratio. But of course we need to apply for funding using the established procedures. On the proposed increase for digital terrestrial television broadcasting facilities, we produce 780 hours of programs. Now, if we are to open 3 normal TV channels, we need around 4,000 to 6,000 hours of program. Of course, after midnight there will be reruns of programs. So we need to expand our service capacity, and we must therefore increase our facilities to meet this target. And the largest TV center will have an area of 400 square meters. Well, from our last year's experience, the existing TV broadcasting house is just 400 square meters. And at last year's election debate platform, we only could accommodate 400 audience. Dr. Lo Kwok. Just to clarify, this new broadcasting house will be situated at Area 85 of Chung-kai within the industrial estate. Is it a direct land allocation to RTHK or what? Augusti? Let me take this question. This is not within the industrial estate, because it's close to the estate, so I need to declare that I am a director of the science park. So I need to make this declaration to avoid conflict of interest. I'm sympathetic towards the RTHK fulfilling the role as the public service broadcaster. It's a difficult job. It's difficult to please either side, and some criticize RTHK for not putting enough effort in promoting the government's policies. On the other hand, some criticized the RTHK for being the mouthpiece of the government. So these are opposing views. I understand that it's a difficult job. In terms of the technology, engineering, and IT sector, they criticize the RTHK in terms of the programs they produced on important economic pillars. The RTHK has seldom produced programs in this regard. Well, there was a drama series on the engineering sector. It was a good initiative to introduce to the public the engineering sector. It's a docudrama. And before and after the reunification, I asked the ITC this question. We do have some innovative projects that are widely acclaimed. For example, I have seen documentaries produced by other countries on our Chiang Mai Bridge, etc. There are 2 of the 10 most famous infrastructure projects in the world. However, I don't see the RTHK producing any such similar programs. So with the new broadcasting house, I'd like to know what new programs will be on the offer. These are important socio-economic issues in Hong Kong. I think the RTHK should produce programs on these issues. They might not have high commercial values. However, the RTHK will be in the best position to produce such programs. So something about these strategies. Don't say that you can't please anyone. Director, I'll defer to Mr. Tai to take the question on programs. The RTHK all along is supportive of local sectors and the development of technology. On the industrial sector, this year we produced a new program, and in 2014 we're going to produce the IT Ambassador. That's a program on IT, on how IT can be included in our daily living. And another new program will also be launched on youths participating in the construction industry. Next, Mr. Christopher Chung. Thank you, Chairman. I now understand why Mr. Ricky Wong failed. Even the infrastructure for a broadcasting house costs $6 billion. So the Mr. Ricky Wong's asset can't compete at all. It's $6 billion. You should have given me this information much earlier, so that last Wednesday I could rebut Mr. MOK's arguments. All right, please don't digress. That's just introduction. Please give me some breakdowns. I think it's like shoes on sale. All your figures end in 9. This is a 5-fold increase for, say, engineering and media asset management and IT and new media technical facilities. Again, a 5-fold increase. Can you give me the breakdowns of these figures? Don't just tell me by how many times these areas will be expanded. I think you are making you are making an about turn. So please give us some the breakdown of these figures. And second question: what is the expected market share of this new broadcasting house? How much is the market share? You talk about competing with the TV market in the private sector. So is that appropriate? Third question: what is the recurrent expenditure every year, and how much? By how much will it increase with the new broadcasting house? 3 questions. Well, you already have a soundbite today. That is, Mr. Christopher Chung is asking Mr. Ricky Wong to pack up. Now, about the recurrent expenditure is $750 million. Now, about radio, the radio aspect of our RTHK, in terms of listeners' ratings and popularity, in terms of market share, RTHK ranks the first. Now, we admit that we only produce TV programs. We've never run a TV channel. We produce TV program for airing in the commercial TV channels, and we don't place our focus on the market share in terms of TV programs because we don't run TV channels. Now, you're not concerned about it, but I am. I'm talking about the impact on the market. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Zhou. We are most concerned about producing quality programs for the public. You're not answering the question. I'm talking about the impact on the market. On I'll defer to Ms. Tai to say something about the breakdown. In enclosure 2, we set out the details of the facilities involved. Now, on the several facilities mentioned for the media center, for example, or the news center rather, we have a newsroom, we have news studio, etc. And office accommodation for staff. I'm not talking about the area, Chairman. I'm asking for the breakdown and the money involved. So they're not answering my question. I asked about the market share. If you run a business, whether it's profitable or not, whether it's publicly run or not, but if it's not profit-making, it's not a business. I asked for a written reply. So please consider whether you can provide the information asked by Mr. Chung. For the first round, we still have Dr. Ann Chang, and for second round, we have Deputy Chair and Chung-kai and Claudia Mo. No more. And also for the first round, Mr. Paul Chair. So, Dr. Ann Chang, please. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, you can see from the remarks made by members just now, we do think from different perspectives, and the outcomes may be very different. During the bad economic times, the budget had shrunk, and it was said that RTHK would be deprived of its resources, and now more resources will be given for your expansion, and then there are other conspiracy theories. So it's a matter of perspective. I'll try to be more objective. Okay, there is a big development ahead, but the jump from 1.6 billion to 6 billion, that's really a great leap. And Mr. Chung just now make the correct point. You really need to think about your direction in the future and why you need such huge investment. Some television stations can run with a capital of, say, 2 or 3 billion. So we'd like to know your plan in detail. If you don't give the details now, when you come back for funding, we're going to ask the same line of questions. Now the area will be expanded by 200%, and you need more staff, so the overheads, air conditionings, utility charges, your monthly bill will definitely increase. So please do a better budgeting and let the public know. And I understand there are 3 sites along Broadcast Drive, and they're in a cluster, right? All 3 will be relocated. So these 3 sites will be returned to the government. And then
all
right, understood. So if you hand back the 3 sites to the government, I guess probably the 3 sites can be sold at 6 billion, right? And the money will be for your expenditure. So please give us a detailed report. No need to respond. Thank you, Chairman. Good. No response necessary. Next, Mr. Paul Chair.
Although in actual terms the area has been increased substantially, but according to common sense, I think if you divide the operation into 3 premises, you cannot use the space efficiently. But if you combine the 3 towers into a single one, then you do not need a pro rata increase in provision of space, especially for staff, amenities, and welfare facilities. Have you ever found out whether or not there will be any improvement in efficiency if you move to the new government house? And secondly, many of the old footages, the copies are take up a lot of space, but in the digital age, you can store massive amount of data in the computer. So that have you ever made an assessment that you don't really need a lot of extra space for storage. Thirdly, many RTHK staff, since they have to, take part in production during irregular hours, and they have to take taxis home or to go to work, and when they claim for reimbursement, there have been rows, and in some cases cases were taken to the court. So, do you have any proposals to take care of your staff welfare when you move to Chung-kai? Mr. Tai, regarding the question of efficiency, if members go look at enclosure 3, you can look at each and every item. We are proposing to build a new broadcasting house. Members should note that the broadcast house in Broadcast Drive was built in 1969. So when the new broadcast house is commissioned, we would have operated on Broadcast Drive for almost 50 years. A building which is 50 years old tends to have many problems that we need to resolve. One of which is that our facilities are very outdated and we're seriously short of space. If you look at enclosure 3, item A, sound broadcasting facilities, what is new or added is the digital broadcasting facilities. For digital terrestrial television broadcasting facilities, the increase refers to facilities for us to operate the TV channels and an additional television recording studios. For the news, we need to develop news broadcasts. Engineering and media asset management, the increase is limited. For the 16 area, just because we need to move to the new broadcasting house, we are not increasing the number of staff. We are, based on the existing establishment, we're making a slightly fine-tune the space that will be provided for in 2018 when we move in to the new broadcasting house. For accommodation of staff, we're going to build place a time capsule there to help the public understand the history of broadcasting in Hong Kong. By 2018, when we move into the new broadcasting house, we will be celebrating the 90th anniversary of broadcasting in Hong Kong. For IT and new media facilities, in the year 2000, when we started the planning, we did not envisage we need so many IT facilities. And finally, specialist facilities. Mr. Chair refers to our libraries. The library is very important. Mr. Chair said that a lot of data could be digitalized, but after they have been digitalized, the original copies we will still keep, because this is the collective memory of Hong Kong. Even after they have been digitalized, we will not throw away the old materials, because it is the collective asset of Hong Kong, and there will be room in the new broadcasting house to store them. All right? We have 3 members for the second round, and I'll allow 2 minutes each. Many members have asked about why you need $6 billion to build a new broadcasting house. I don't think you have fully answered our questions or laid the public's concern. The media has reported that according to the ASD's index for public works, it is only I think that then the budget should only go up to $3 billion, but now you're topping it up to $6 billion. That's higher than the increase in the cost of public projects. You've not answered the question why you have such a drastic jump, and it's not unreasonable for members to ask for detailed breakdowns. Another question is that the government will be, concentrating all the data centers into one so that there will be greater efficiency and energy conservation. So for this new government house, will there be a data center, or will you be using the government's data center? Whoever, Director, to answer Ms. Quat's first question, we really explain that, first of all, the media was looking at the conclusions of the study made in 2000, that's 1.5 billion, multiply by the index of government public projects, and that's how they arrive at the $3 million odd dollars. This method of calculation is not reasonable because they've not taken into account the fact that in 2009 the government proposes new services for RTHK. So the $6 billion has already taken into account the rising cost of for public pricing price of public works projects, and also the new initiatives. For the green initiatives, I asked the SD to answer. I did not ask about the green initiatives. I asked whether the government's data center would include the RTHK's data center. Will RTHK build its own data center? You've also not answered the question whether or not the data center is a green data center. That's not what I was asking. That's why I put the question to the Permanent Secretary. I think you asked a similar question of the Government Chief Information Officer. Chairman, could I provide the information after the meeting? Yes. Mr. Sin. I assume that RTHK already has a data center. Is it a Tier 1 or Tier 4 data center? Tier 4 is very expensive, of course. When you go to the FC, I hope you'll not only give us a few pages of document, but give us the figures as well. And also tell us whether or not RTHK will have its own data center, and what tier is it really, because it will have a great impact on the cost. Who would like to answer the question, Permanent Secretary? To answer the question on data center, I'm not quite clear whether or not it's going to be built by RTHK or by the central government. I'll supply members with the information after the meeting. Mr. Sin, I think they will need to come up with the information when they go to the FC. Permanent Secretary not happy with that answer. I think RTHK should know very well. Chairman, regarding the data center, for the IT and new media data center, it will be operated by RTHK. Our IT department, we have our own IT department, and we also operate our own website. Of course, we do commission IT experts to help us host the IT, the internet, but the server is with us, and this is very important because it's a critical part. As to whether or not it's T1 or T4, I'll need to consult with our colleagues before I can give you an answer. Claudia Mo. Chairman, I think a genuine PSB should be independent of the government, but RTHK is also a government department, and that's why we have all these different views. People are asking whether it's going to be a mouthpiece of the government or the mouthpiece for the people. I'm so surprised that Mr. Low Wai Kwok doesn't understand that, so I must clarify this point. Secondly, people are saying it cost $6 billion, and that's why Ricky Wong, failed because he doesn't have that much money. I will not adopt the same terminologies which Mr. Christopher Chung said. I think such comments are totally unfair if made at an official meeting like this one, especially because we're talking about a government department. We're talking about an entire government department, which is starting from scratch to build a television channel plus its radio operation. So I think the comparison is not fair. Secondly, I hope Mr. Tai Kin Man, who is a veteran RTHK staff, personally, I don't trust the director. I don't trust in the person, but is the management system of RTHK still, creditable? The answer is yes. As a PSB, our basic obligation is to reflect the voice of the people. At the same time, we need to provide a platform for the public to freely exchange views. RTHK has always the objective of providing quality programs to the public to complement or supplement the shortcomings of the private market. That has always been the case and will also be so in the future. We also attach importance to innovation and diversity and will continue to uphold those principles. I think time is almost up. If I may, briefly sum up, topping the budget to $6 billion. Of course, different people have different views. Whether RTK is going to be a PSB or whether it's a mouthpiece of the government, different people have different views, and it's not something that we need to draw a conclusion on today. Regarding the proposal from the Bureau, by the end of this year or early next year, they will need to go to the FC. So this panel must, first of all, go through the motion and decide whether or not we support this funding proposal, or do we want the government to give us some supplementary information first. Deputy Chair, since we still have time, I'd like to follow up on one point. Looking at the photos, I'm really worried. According to your photo, the building looks like it to be entirely enclosed by glass. We talk about green construction. There's international standards. You shouldn't just talk about the facilities, whether there are water chillers. What you were talking about were rather, only the minimum requirements. I'm talking about natural lighting, natural ventilation, which can really allow young people to go inside and appreciate that the new broadcasting house does have a green element. We'll ask the government to give us such information, okay? Seto. Chairman, if this is a PSB, then I would have no reservations about the proposal. Could the government department undertake to set up a mechanism for frontline staff of RTHK to have a formal channel for complaints? That is, when they have production meetings, whether the management has ever stifled the freedom, news freedom. If they have such a mechanism, I support the proposal. I think the real decision is to be made by the FC. The administration has submitted a report to us. They've come here to consult our views. I think your objection will not really have any impact. So do we support in principle their funding proposal? But we also hope that they've listened to the views expressed by members today and provide us with the relevant information as far as they can. So in principle, we support the funding proposal. Meeting is adjourned.